There is a kind of intelligence that does not look like intelligence at all. It does not always come with a calm appearance, polished words, proper behavior, or the attractive certainty people often associate with those who have good minds. Sometimes it swears. Sometimes it procrastinates. Sometimes it lies awake at 2 a.m. just to argue in its head with someone who does not even know they are about to be argued with. Sometimes it finds things funny in places where no one else laughs. And sometimes, even when it is the fastest brain in the room, it is still the brain that doubts itself the most. It sounds contradictory, but this is exactly the type that psychology keeps encountering when looking at people with truly high IQs. What is interesting is that most of these signs are not beautiful by social standards. They are not polished. They are not easy to perform. They do not make you look cool in the eyes of the crowd. But that is exactly why they are the hardest to fake. You cannot rehearse them in advance. They come out because your cognitive structure is wired that way. And once you look closely, you will see that many things once called strange, difficult, overly sensitive, or overthinking are actually connected to a very special kind of intellectual functioning. Today, we are talking about 10 signs like that, and very possibly some of them will make you feel more accurately seen than you expected. The first sign is that you swear, but not in a random way. The original source mentions a study in language sciences showing that people who could list many swear words also tended to list more words in other categories, such as animal names, much more than others. In other words, the issue is not that they lack vocabulary and therefore have to swear. On the contrary, they have a wider vocabulary across many categories, including words that are considered not nice. People with high linguistic intelligence do not only know many elegant words, they know many kinds of words, and more importantly, they know when a specific word is the most accurate for that feeling. So if you are the type who can use a very strong word but it fits so perfectly that no other word could replace it, that is not necessarily crude. Maybe your language ability is simply very flexible. If you already see a few signs in yourself from the beginning, subscribe to the channel and keep watching, because the further we go, the more uncomfortably accurate things may become. The second sign is that you find things funny that make the whole room go silent. Not because you are trying to seem dark, and not because you are insensitive, but because your brain is very quick at noticing the collision point between two opposite realities, something that is both serious and absurd. A situation that is both tense and so perfectly structured in a funny way that it almost feels flawless. Dark humor is actually not simple. To find it funny, the brain has to hold two contradictory layers of meaning at the same time and locate exactly where they collide. That is a very fast and difficult cognitive operation. Many people may think your timing is wrong, but inside, your mind has simply caught the exact mismatch that others have not processed yet. The third sign is that you rehearse conversations that have not even happened. You are in the shower and your mind is already running 3 different versions of a conversation that will not happen for several more days. You are driving and you are still revising a sentence you said 2 days ago, wondering whether changing just one word would have changed the outcome. Outsiders may call this overthinking or anxiety. But from another angle, this is also a form of predictive modeling. Your brain does not only live in the present, it constantly runs simulations. It tests possible scenarios, predicts the emotional logic of other people, and checks the path of an interaction before it happens. That is also why you often read the room very quickly. The only problem is that this system has no off switch. It works even on things that have not truly happened yet. The fourth sign is that you unconsciously match other people's voice, accent, gestures, and rhythm. If you spend time with someone who speaks slowly, you start slowing down too. If you talk to someone who expresses themselves a lot with their hands after a while, your hands also begin to move differently. If you stay around someone from another region for a while, you may slightly pick up their accent without realizing it until you hear yourself later. The original source calls this linguistic accommodation, but what matters is not only the phenomenon itself, but the mechanism behind it. For brains that recognize patterns very quickly, other people's communication patterns are almost absorbed below conscious awareness. Other people only hear a voice. Your brain hears a system, and once it hears the system, it starts testing it almost immediately. The fifth sign is that certain sensory experiences can completely stop you, even though other people find them normal. A restaurant is only slightly noisy, but your train of thought feels cut off halfway. The lighting in the office makes your mind feel stretched in a way that is hard to explain. A certain fabric touches your skin. and it feels like it takes up your entire mental bandwidth. The original source mentions a survey of Mensa members and the concept of the hyperbrain hyperbody effect. The same nervous system that allows stronger cognitive processing often also receives more sensory signals. In other words, you are not simply being difficult. Your system is truly taking in more. If you have ever felt overwhelmed by sound, light, smell, or texture in a way other people could not understand, comment the number 8, because maybe that is not weakness. Maybe that is the configuration of your nervous system. The 6th sign is that you do not follow something just because someone with a higher title says so. From the outside, this can easily be misunderstood as being rebellious. But inside, it often does not feel like rebellion at all. It feels like your brain has already finished running the calculation, and the result does not match what is being requested. No matter how respected the speaker is, how high their position is, or how long the tradition has existed, none of that can change the calculation your mind has just made. The original source mentions research in the European Journal of Social Psychology suggesting that higher cognitive ability is associated with a greater willingness to challenge irrational or unfair authority. Not because you enjoy causing trouble, but because a brain that is constantly evaluating things critically cannot pretend to turn that function off just to make the room more comfortable. You respect what can be verified, and that is also why some places love you while others find you exhausting. The 7th sign is that you procrastinate the most on the things that matter the most. Small tasks you can handle, things that are not too meaningful you can manage. But when it comes to something truly important, a project that could genuinely change your life, a creative task with real risk, a decision with real weight, you freeze. From the outside, people may think you are lazy or avoidant, but inside, it feels like standing in front of something too big, while your brain has already simulated a whole series of possible failures before you even begin. When your identity is tightly tied to being capable doing something below your own standard, hurts more than people realize. So the brain pulls the brake, not because it does not want to do it, but because it is afraid of touching something so important that if it fails, it strikes directly at your self-image. The 8th sign is that love and close relationships are often harder for you than almost any other area. Not because you do not want closeness. In fact, many times you want it deeply, but you want it with a level of precision, consistency, and truth that makes it harder than usual. You notice where the other person speaks differently from last week. You sense where the relationship is drifting before they have even thought about it. Sometimes you have quietly processed the ending of something that has only just begun. It sounds both impressive and exhausting, and in truth it is. Intimacy requires a kind of surrender, but a brain wired to constantly observe, analyze, and predict naturally resists that surrender. It does not make love impossible. It simply makes love require more conscious effort than it does for most people. The 9th and 10th signs almost go together. When someone says something wrong with great confidence, your body often reacts before you can even name exactly what is wrong. A tension runs through you, a small internal friction that you have to hide, so it does not show on your face. But the interesting thing is that the same error-detecting mechanism also turns very strongly against yourself. You catch your own contradictions. You do not easily forgive the gaps in your own reasoning. And because of that, you often doubt yourself more than people who understand less, but feel far more certain. This is where the opposite side of the Dunning-Kruger effect becomes painful. The more truly someone understands, the more clearly they see the edges of uncertainty, the more clearly they see how many ways there are to be wrong, and so they are forced to slow down. If you have lived for years with the feeling that you are less certain than other people, and sometimes thought that meant you were not intelligent enough, comment the number 9. Because maybe that is not an intellectual gap. Maybe it is the most honest signal of real intelligence. The common thread in all these signs is that they do not look like what society has taught us intelligence should look like. They are not polished. They are not convenient. They do not help you blend in more easily. Sometimes they even make you lonelier. But that is exactly why they are real. You cannot train yourself to fake a nervous system like that. You can only live inside it. And if you see yourself in a few of the signs above, maybe it is time to stop treating those traits as flaws. They may be the very human shadow side of a powerful kind of cognition. Thank you for watching until the end. If this video touched something in you that is hard to explain, please like and subscribe to the channel. And send it to someone who has always felt strange, when in truth, their mind may simply be operating more deeply and more complexly than other people can see.